gentlemen, to DC vs. Marvel month here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, we're checking out a film from 2011. That movie is Thor, Tales of Asgard. Now, from what I have read, this film is kind of a, origin story for Thor so much as it's the story of how Thor became worthy enough to wield the power of his legendary hammer, Mjolnir. That's really all that I know, is that this is telling how Thor got possession of his hammer. I have no idea if this is going to be a good film or not. I certainly hope so, because over the past couple of years, Thor has kind of sort of grown on me as a rather interesting Marvel hero. So I'm always down to check out anything Thor fucking related. So I'm certainly hoping for this movie to be good. But I've also noticed the pattern with all of these Lionsgate Marvel animated films, and it's that none of them have been terrible so far, but oh man, are they ever painfully average, and that sometimes can be a fault all by itself. I'm certainly hoping that this movie is able to break that pattern and be genuinely amazing. But the only way I'm going to find out, guys, is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Thor, Tales of Asgard. I really don't know why, guys, but for some reason, this young, pompous, headstrong, brash Thor is kind of sort of cool. I honestly am sort of hoping that at some point, well, I know at some point in the story he's going to take his fucking head out of his ass and will actually, start being the Thor that we all know and love, but I'm actually kind of liking this, douchebag Thor. It's kind of cool. Well, I've learned a few things in the past minute, guys. I've learned that Surtur's sword looked frickin' awesome. It's got some real badass powers, but apparently it's a pain in the ass to sheathe. That's good to fucking know. Did he really just say that in a land loaded with tons of ice on all sides, there's only one source of water? Dude, everything around you is ice. You can break it, you can melt it, you can drink it. It's frozen water. There's no need to worry about water in this dead hellscape, because even though there's no life, there's fuckloads of ice. And they're wielding a fire sword. They could melt all the ice they want and drink for days. I'm sorry, guys, it seemed kind of weird to say that there's no source of water in a world, or rather in a plane covered in fucking ice. It just seemed kind of stupid to me. Well, guys, that was Thor, Tales of Asgard. Let's shut that off. Okay. Well, I guess I should say this going in. If memory serves, this is the 5th animated Marvel movie I myself have seen. I've seen Doctor Strange and Planet Hulk, thanks to Reaction and Review, and before that, I saw Ultimate Avengers and a fair chunk of Ultimate Avengers 2. Out of all 5, Thor, Tales of Asgard is by far the best. Now, that could be because I'm kind of partial towards Thor, and the story here is fantastic. Mind you, this movie does have a couple of faults, but I will get to those in time. I want this much to be known, though, right now. Out of all of the animated Marvel movies, in fact, I will even tack on most of the live-action Marvel movies I've seen. This sucker is amazing. I'd probably rank it at second best, only because Captain America the Winter Soldier is that fucking good. So, yeah, we've got here a fantastic story. But like I said, it does have a couple of flaws. One of them does come in the writing, and it has to do with one character. Just one, believe it or not. Because everybody here is written with a ton of personality and a whole lot of character, and you really get into them. And then there's Loki, who, I guess maybe I'm used to a whole lot of the comics and the movies where Loki's just dripping with fucking personality, and he's just this smarmy, evil dickhead that you just fucking want to watch fail. Here, Loki has no personality at all. Like, Loki is like the most flat, lifeless being in the entire movie. The only like trait he has is that he's been taking lessons from Enchantress on how to, like, magically fuck with things like water and ice and all that, and that does play a part in the film. In the actual story once it gets, rolling. However, beyond that small little fiddling around with magic thing, Loki has no other personality. He's here simply because he's Thor's brother and nothing else. And it's kind of shit. But beyond that one point, the fact that we have a rather flat character in Loki, every other character is written amazingly. The movie's story is just going at a fantastic pace. Part of that has to do with the runtime. You see, this movie, guys, when the credits roll, is rolling credits at 1 hour and 11 minutes. Okay, so it's 71 minutes of just tightly packed, amazing, awesome story, and it is telling a story of a young Thor as he, starts off being this pompous, brash, arrogant, head fucking strong asshole, and by the end of the film, he is far more reserved. He knows why you go to war. He knows why you need to foster peace. What I'm kind of shocked at is they tease early on of him grabbing his famous hammer, Mjolnir. And I honestly thought that was how he was going to win in the final fight. I'm going to give you a small spoiler. He never grabs the hammer once during this film, which is totally fine. It seriously is not like a must do thing, but I honestly think it would have been a nice touch. But once more, that is just me. The final fight that is here is fantastic. So yeah, guys, writing here is awesome. This is an amazing Thor story. It makes me actually wish I had some Thor comics. I really want to start reading some of those, because, I may have to go online and start buying a couple of, like, Thor trades or something, because I'm kind of jonesing for more fucking Thor. Anyway, so our story here is fantastic, minus the fact that Loki doesn't seem to have any personality to really speak of. The acting, once more, there is only one flaw, and shockingly, it's not Loki. Our cast is fantastic from start to finish. Every single actor is turning in a fantastic showing. My one problem comes with Odin. You see, because guys, Odin is the fucking All-Father. He is the High Ruler of Asgard. When you think Odin, you think booming, commanding, powerful sounding voice. Somebody who you could honestly believe could lead massive armies. And here, the actor is doing a fantastic job, but he does not sound commanding in any way at all. It is not the kind of voice I myself would picture for Odin. So even though his performance is great, and I am not going to fault it, I just think that it was a poor casting choice, because they could have gotten almost anybody better who could have put a far more commanding presence onto Odin. So that one there honestly is a minor flaw, which is probably only going to bother a few people. And it honestly isn't even a flaw as much as if I was the one casting, I would have probably cast someone else. That's just me. So yes, we have here an amazing cast turning in a fantastic job. So yeah, acting here is awesome. Animation. This is really the one spot where this movie kind of falters, and it's something I've noticed through all of these Marvel animated movies, is that animation is animation is a little bit stiff. It's a little bit stiff. It's a little bit like stuttery and janky kind of. Okay, look, guys. What I'm trying to say is, when you are animating something like blowing clothing or hair, you want to make sure that you are animating every single frame, so that way it actually looks like it's flowing naturally. You do not want a frame where a cloth is like this, and then the next frame it's like this in order to show that wind is blowing, and then you just jank between those two frames. That doesn't look natural, but that's how they animate almost everything in this movie. Something else that looked a little bit weird when we see a group of troops and they're all riding on horseback. The only thing that's moving in the entire shot are the horse's legs, and it just did not look natural, like, at all. And I honestly don't even know why. There was just something about that shot that looked so weird, and it's just tons of those little things where there are just little hitches and problems involving the animation, where it's fine if you're just sitting down to watch it, but my God, it could have been so much better. It is something that I would honestly have expected better from Marvel, and something I would have expected better from a major studio such as Lionsgate. It really is the one big flaw I find in almost every one of, actually no, in all of these Marvel animated movies, is the fact that animation can sometimes get a little bit weird and a little bit stiff and unfucking natural, and it does sort of pull you out of the film a little bit. It isn't terrible, mind you, but it is noticeable, and when something like that is noticeable, that is oftentimes a bad thing. So, let's move on past that. Our sound mix here is great. Let's see here. Our sound mix is great. Our soundtrack is good. CG. There is one CG shot I saw that I could clearly tell was CG. And I'm going to say this, it looked really good, especially compared to the other CG shots I've seen in previous Marvel animated films. It is by far the strongest shot I've seen. So at least we have that. When it comes to all of the computer animation, the one whole shot I saw, at least the one shot I was able to clearly recognize as CG, it was fine. It flowed really well. It honestly blended into the shot really well. I think the only reason why it stands out so well is because it's animated so fluidly, which is in stark contrast to the stiff, jerky animation we have everywhere else in this goddamn movie. So CG is good, but it stands out so much because it's animated in a smooth and fluid fashion. So fuck it, I guess, for being smooth and fluid. Anyway. Moving onward, I'm actually trying to think if there's anything else I can really talk about. Oh, there is one thing. This sort of has to do with acting, but it is more about direction. There is a character in this film who is a dark elf, and his name is either Algrim or his name is Algrim. You hear it pronounced both ways. Odin pronounces it Algrim. Thor pronounces it Algrim. You'll hear it pronounced both ways in the same fucking scene. You would think if he has been a part of Odin's family, he has been Odin's, like, I guess, like, right-hand man, his vizier, whatever the hell you want to call it. If he has been part of Odin's family for so long, and if Thor has known him since he was a kid, you'd think that both of them would have the same way of pronouncing his name. Now, the only one who does not now mind you, there are other characters, and they all refer to him as Algrim, which tells me that Thor is wrong. I don't know why they didn't tell the actor to go and redo the lines so it matches everybody else's. That honestly is like a little slight case of that. There's a slight case of laziness, but I'm not going to fault them too much because, again, it's a minor nothing. The only people who are really going to notice it are fucking picky dickheads like me. So it's minor, it's paltry, it's trivial, it's nothing. So, guys, when all is said and done, can I recommend Thor: Tales of Asgard? Yes, I absolutely can. Because even with the flaws I mentioned, even with the questionable animation, even with the fact that Loki has no personality at all, the fact that Odin feels a little bit cast. Beyond those, we still have here a fantastic movie, and it's an amazingly told story. I loved it, and those few flaws were not enough to ruin it for me, but they were noticeable enough that I did feel the urge to bring them up here. I can totally recommend this thing, and if you can find it cheaply, pick it up. It is totally worth it. I absolutely loved it. This is the best Marvel animated movie I have seen. This thing kicked a ton of ass, and frankly, it's honestly making the box set I bought worth it just simply because this one is so good. Now, mind you, the other ones I've watched haven't been terrible, but none of them have been, like, noticeably awesome good. This one here is coming desperately close to being flat out awesome. I loved it. I'm going to totally watch it. I'm going to totally watch it a second time. It seems worth it to me. So yes, guys, if you can find this thing anywhere, if you can find it on Netflix or Hulu or on Amazon's Instant Thing, or if you can find the DVD or the Blu-ray ultra cheap, which I'm almost certain that you totally can, pick it up. It is absolutely worth every cent. This thing was great. Now, like I said, I am woefully short on Thor comics, so I'm going to go see if I can find a couple of Thor trades on Amazon. And when they come in, I'm going to be reading me some Thor. Until then, I've got a small stack of books there I still have to get into, and I'm probably going to go and read some of those. Because I just feel like reading fucking comic books right now. That sounds really frickin' awesome. Anyway, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.